Hello everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to be checking out a large orange truck. Now this particular trim of large orange truck is the 2015 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro crewmax. This is a 4-door pickup with seating for 5. This does feature 4-wheel drive and a 5.5-foot bed. Up front, fog lights and a drag coefficient of 0.38. You also have dual tow hooks up front and a TRD skid plate. MSRP as tested, $46,259. So let's have a look under the hood. Dual air shocks for support. So aside from the engine taking up a large amount of space, the packaging actually looks pretty good. There's a decent amount of space around all the extra components in here. Now it does have this plastic engine cover, but it can be easily removed. Checking for serviceability, we've got our windshield washer fluid over here on the left, power steering fluid, and you've got quick clips for your air filter. You've got your engine oil fill right here with an engine oil dipstick down here to the left. You've got your radiator cap and coolant reservoir. Now the battery's up front here with easy access for access to the relays and fuse. It's just a single tab to open that up. And then you've got your brake fluid reservoir back here. This is a naturally aspirated gasoline 5.7 liter V8. It has an aluminum block and heads, dual overhead cams with 32 valves, dual variable valve timing with timing on both the intake and exhaust valves, 381 horsepower at 5,600 RPM and 401 pound-feet of torque at 3,600 RPM. Following the path of the intake air, this air filter is fed from the right side fender. The air passes through an electronically controlled throttle body up front and then into this plastic intake manifold where it is then distributed between the 8 cylinders and then passes through the exhaust. True dual exhaust all the way back. This is the TRD exhaust. Here you can see the exhaust routing back. You also do have a full-size spare underneath. Power is sent to the rear wheels through a 6-speed automatic transmission, or you can choose to select 4-wheel drive with either high or low. All 4 wheels 285/70 R17 with BF Goodrich all-terrain tires. 13.9-inch ventilated disc brakes up front. This is matched with a double wishbone suspension. In the rear, 13.6-inch ventilated disc brakes. This is matched with a solid live axle and leaf springs. And all around we have TRD Bilstein shocks with separate reservoirs. So let's check out the interior. To unlock it, you do have keyless entry, so you can unlock it with this. And then you also do actually have remote start. So if you press the lock button twice quick and then hold it, you can start the engine. And then to turn it off, you can either hold lock or press unlock. Cloth seats with 10-way power adjustable driver's seat. Okay, so checking out the interior, comfortable cloth seats, not overly firm. There is an abundance of legroom, pretty much nowhere that your knees are going to contact anything, and plenty of legroom. Also plenty of headroom above me. I've probably got still several inches above my head, and I'm about 6'1", so very spacious interior. On the left here, you've got your power windows, automatic for the driver, and you also have power adjustable mirrors. You can turn on several of the different light features, like for the bed and then for the interior. Adjust the height that your headlights are shining. Here you have the power for the rear window, so that's pretty nice. The steering wheel, pretty simple. I do like that it has an opening at the bottom and you do have plenty of control on here. So you've got your phone connectivity. You can select through different settings for whatever audio you may be playing, adjust the volume, and then scroll through several of the displays here. So you've got your trip time, average speed, different settings, your average fuel economy, your current fuel economy, and your distance to empty. You also have your cruise control, which moves with the wheel here on the left. And then you've got your headlights and your windshield wipers on the sides. Checking out the infotainment system, it does have a nice look to it and good solid knobs for the AC system. Very simple and straightforward. You've got your selection for 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel high, and 4-wheel low here on the left. And the typical Toyota settings here, we've got navigation, audio, phone, messages, setup, traffic, weather, and maintenance, where you can choose through all of these different settings. good size, decent screen here, and all of the knobs do feel pretty good. One thing, in bright light, sometimes this white on silver can be a bit difficult to read, but other than that, pretty straightforward and pretty simple to use. I like it. Plenty of storage all around. You've got cup holders on the left, you've got 3 cup holders here, little compartments, you've got this here. You've got a ton of space in this center console, perhaps fit a smaller car in there if you wanted, and then you also do have this glove compartment, keep all your information and stuff like that. Now, regarding visibility, it's actually very good. Great out the front, to the sides. Checking your blind spot is good, and then also checking out the rear is great. Your mirror is a little bit small, doesn't completely cover the rear view window, but the rear view window is fairly close since this is a truck, so I can kind of understand it, and you do have plenty of visibility out the rear view mirror. So sitting in the rear, as you can see, there's an abundance of legroom. I have the front driver's seat adjusted to where I will be driving, and plenty of room in front of my knees, plenty of room to stretch out back here. You've got power windows, you've got some AC vents back here. And even if you do move to the center, I'm 6'1", and I've got plenty of space sitting in the center, so you really could fit 5 adults in here, no problem. You also do have a fold down in the center, so you've got a little bit of an armrest and then some cup holders. Okay, so let's take it for a test drive. I do have to say, I love the way it sounds. It's got a nice throaty burble to it. Sounds great when you put your foot down and starting it up. That's one of the characteristics about this car, is just kind of the gas pedal and the brake pedal, both pretty effortless. It's surprising to me, this thing weighs 5,600 pounds, how easy it is to get it up to speed, and also how easy it is to brake. It seems to stop and go both pretty well, and the throttle response and the brake pedal feel are both pretty good. Now, speaking of the throttle and how much power it has, 0 to 60 in about 6.7 seconds. So when you do put your foot down, it gets there pretty quick. You just have to remember to apologize to Mother Earth. Sorry, planet. Now, steering feel and the steering characteristics are all a bit numb, and it kind of seems that you turn the wheel first and then you wait a little bit and then it starts to turn, and it does have quite a large ratio, so you have to turn the wheel quite a bit in order to get it to turn. So the steering overall I'm not that big of a fan of, and mostly I think that has to do with the fact that it's a truck, so it's well off the ground, nice and elevated. It's got a lot of suspension travel, a soft suspension, and huge tires with a high profile, and what that does is it just allows for a lot of movement of the body, and that kind of takes out away from the steering feel. So the steering overall probably isn't that bad compared to most trucks out there. It's just when you compare it to cars, which is what I'm used to driving, it's not very good, and you just kind of get not much feel from it. You do have a significant amount of body roll or nosedive, depending on what you're doing. If you put your foot down, the car kind of rolls back. If you put your foot down on the brake, you do have good nosedive. And through the corners, you've got plenty of roll, but that's all part of the characteristics of an off-road vehicle. It's got all kinds of suspension travel, so it's made to be able to handle like that, and that's just one of the sacrifices you make when you're driving it on the road. But I'm sure it's very capable off-road because of all of those characteristics. Plus, it has quite a bit of clearance off the ground, over 10 inches. The transmission does seem to be pretty smooth with gear shifts. You don't really notice any jolting from that. Also, the ride overall seems to be pretty smooth, nice and comfortable. Not a lot of noise coming from the road, which is pretty surprising. Most of the noise you hear is just the exhaust. So, driving on the highway, it's actually surprisingly quiet. I would have expected a good amount more tire noise, and really all I'm hearing is a little bit of exhaust noise and some wind noise. So, I've completed my fuel economy test course. It turns out big trucks get big truck fuel economy. The truck weighs just over 5,600 pounds, and combine that with a high frontal area, high coefficient of drag, and a big V8, and you're looking at about 16.1 miles per gallon on my test course, which is primarily highway with a little bit of city and some hills mixed in, and it's about 53 miles. The truck is rated 13 in the city, 17 in the highway, with a combined fuel economy of 15 miles per gallon. So it doesn't take much in a corner for this thing to start to kind of slip away. Not going to hold the highest lateral G's, but once again, that's just not what this thing is made for. This is probably, the worst test course I could put it on is this slalom-like road course. So hopefully I can find a good off-road spot and we can test out some of the other characteristics of it and see how it behaves when it's off the road. Taking the Tundra off-road really showed what this vehicle was meant for and shed it in a completely different light. The steering actually felt much more precise, and the high steering ratio was no longer an issue. In fact, it felt pretty intuitive and very controllable. By all means, this is an incredibly capable vehicle in these environments. It is slightly disappointing that there is not a locking rear differential offered, and instead it's replaced by what Toyota calls an auto LSD. Essentially, when the auto LSD is activated, it operates as an open differential, but uses the rear brakes to aid in torque transfer to the wheels with more grip, if one starts to slip. Switching between two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, whether high or low, was quite seamless and happens fairly quickly through an electronically controlled transfer case. Overall, the ride is surprisingly smooth, regardless of the ground below, even while traveling at decent speeds. With high clearance, lots of suspension travel, and large all-terrain tires, the whole experience seemed quite effortless and comfortable for the truck. It's certainly more easy to appreciate its capabilities in this type of setting. I took it through quite a few different types of terrain, dirt, grass, mud, and snow, and whether in two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, it had great control in whatever I put it through. So, thank you guys for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below.